How's it going? I'm Dan Jamison. Welcome to the Syndicate Sports Podcast. Here with me is Coach Norton from Stagg High School.
Don Norton from Stagg High School, head football coach.
Yeah, so we were actually, before this podcast, we were already getting into the ins and outs of what we talk about, like the process. You know, when you go to high school and you have this story built up in your head, right, Coach, of what you want to do, but, you know, sometimes that story is way out of context because you're not prepared.
I think the biggest part of that is the preparation that you put in. It is performing during the season, but it's the work you put in the off season and preparation for it. And if you don't go through the process like we're talking about in the off season to prepare yourself for the season, it's not going to happen for you.
Yeah, so it's like when you say process or preparation, you're not only talking about, you know, what everybody thinks, oh, I got to lift and I got to do speed work, but you're talking about what are some of the other things?
Well, of course, you're going to have to talk about academics first. You have to have the academics in order to qualify to go to the next level. But then you have to be willing to do the work in the weight room. You have to lift the weights. You have to do the footwork. You have to do the agilities. You have to do the speed work. You have to do the conditioning. So when you get into the season, you're prepared for the season. You can't catch up. When practice starts on August 28th and you want to start doing it on August 28th, can't catch up. Doesn't happen. Not if the other guys are doing the work in the off season, you'll never catch up.
Yeah, when I say like the preparation, like for me, I have a hard time with it. Only reason like I say that is because some kids' preparation is, you know, doing certain footwork and doing things that is only like an aspect. Like if the off season was like a fruit bowl, right? Only thing they're concentrating on is that orange. Right?
Okay.
They're not like, if the orange was the footwork, right? Oh, we're gonna do this footwork. We're gonna work this stuff, and then it's like, well, okay, well let's be real here. Like, let's be real. How many of these kids have went to their coach at the end of the year, right, and said, Coach, can you write down what I need to do, right? And how many coaches are actually going to do that? Part of my program is at the end of every year, I give the kid a piece of paper to go get to his coach. And it just lines out everything. This is the position I play. This is what I weigh. This is my height. This is my toughness level. I mean, it goes A to Z. And the coach, you know, I ain't gonna lie to you, probably 70% of the time will fill it out. Some coaches won't. You know what I mean? And that always blows me away because I'm like, you want to be better, but you're not helping your kids. That's another story. But like, and then you're able to get that path, right? You're able to get that path to be able to say, okay. And then as a trainer, you're able to write down, okay, well, we know we're above average here, lower here, higher here, and we're able to mix that up so there's not peaks and valleys.
It's the consistency of the work that you do. You have to be willing to do it on a regular basis. And what am I going to do on my downtime? If I've got free time, what am I going to do? I need to do the extra work. Mm-hmm. Because anybody can go do, well, coach wants us to work 2 hours, 3 days a week. But what about the other 4 days? You can go do some extra work. There's nothing wrong with that. And if your goal and your desire is to really go to the next level and maybe the next level after that, you have to be willing to do what it takes to get there. And you got to do the process it takes to get there. Since we're talking about process, you got to keep working at it because I think kids get caught in this little small world that they're in. Mm-hmm. You got to understand, man, there's a big world out there and there's a lot of people trying to do the same thing you're trying to do. Yes. And what are you going to do to separate yourself from all the rest of those guys? Because I broke down a statistic to the kids a couple years ago. There's 360,000 kids that play high school football, but there's only 5,000 spots available. So what are you going to do to separate yourself out from the other 355,000 kids?
That's very true. I mean, but how can I put it? You know, these kids are so social media dominant that they'll see a kid doing a sweet, you know, ladder drill or something like that. Like, don't get me wrong, that's beautiful. But, you know, no one wants to post what some would say, quote unquote, is the boring stuff. The reps,
yes.
The this, the that.
Yes.
I mean, listen, it took most people on earth a year or more to walk, right? You had to first learn to sit up, right? Boring. Scoot on your stomach, boring. Crawl, boring, right? And then you start learning how to walk, fall, get up, walk, fall, get up, walk, fall. And then you're walking, and then you get to do the fun stuff and run, right?
Yes.
They have to look at that in the same way for their training. Like if you've never done this before, you got to know that, hey man, we got to build a capacity just for you to be able to do the lifts. You got to learn the techniques. You got to do everything, because if you don't, we're just building imbalances. We're building, some kid that wants to bench 5 days a week, or a kid that wants to squat 5 days a week, and everything else, but they don't want to, while they're watching TV, take that 20, 30 minutes and learn how to stretch, and not just, foot sideways, everything else. I mean, nose to knee, line it up, get that full hamstring, get everything you need, bend from your hinge, which is your hip, and get over, not from your thoracic spine where you're rolled up and your body's straight. You're still at an L, but you're like this, and you're able to bend like this. No, man, get down. Because when we play football, it's all about the recoil. It's all about taking that, any sport, it's about the recoil. It's about that eccentric, being able to absorb weight and throw it back.
Yes, that's very true. That's very true. We spend a lot of time with that. And I think too, I think it's the whole package. Can't just focus on the weights. Can't just be that. It's got to be the whole package. So that's what you've got to strive for.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to a program and you see, first thing you do is a capacity where it's just a lot of reps, but at like 50% of your weight, right? Then you work into like more of a strength phase where it's just slow, eccentric movements. And then you work into more like a speed or power, quote unquote. And then you see this trainer change it every 3 weeks from there, or 2 weeks, we're going back to this or back to that. We're going back to speed, back to this, back to that. You're in the right place. You're in the right place, because this guy, not only does he know what he's talking about 9 times out of 10, 99% of the time, he'll be able to explain it without the ums, the ifs, the oohs, the ahs, the just go do it. This is why we're doing it. You know what I mean? Like those kind of coaches we need more of.
Yes. And the thing is, I think you talk about kids thinking that it's boring. Well, that's on them too. It doesn't have to be. It can be highly motivational. And that's one thing we're really striving on for this year's program, is to energize the kids more for the 2 hours that they're with us. Energize, have some fun, get your work in, and go through the process that it takes to get better. As an athlete, be a better athlete. Do the work that it takes.
How do you, where do you think ownership comes in for you? Like the kids actually owning their talent. You know what I mean? So like what I say by owning is, I've had the luck and also the, I don't know, I'm very grateful, I guess you would say, that I've had certain kids come in, right? Certain kids come in and they've made it all the way to the NFL and they're playing on Sundays, like now. And one of the first things I told them was like, no one else owns this. This is right. Yours. Like right. This gift is yours. You have to nurture it. You have to take care of it. You have to do this. I may be 1%, right? In the world, in this whole world, 90 to 95% of that is your ownership. Correct. Of your stuff. Yes. And then you have coaching from Pop Warner to high school to college, and then you might have a trainer or a mentor you really believe in, and that's 1-2% maybe.
I think that you're connecting with the kids when they keep coming back. And when they come back, they're excited to be there. They can't wait to be there. And they're asking, give me more, coach. I want more. And then they're telling me, hey, coach, Saturday and Sunday, I went worked out on my own. Or I grabbed up so-and-so and I took them with me and we went and worked out on our own. That's when you're connecting with the kids and they're buying into what you're telling them, because they're willing to, they're coming every day, they're excited about being there, and they're doing the extra work on their own. That's telling you they're buying into it and they're going along with the program.
Okay. I like that. Now that we've kind of hit that part, one of the things you're known for throughout your time in Stockton here is not only helping the Stagg kids get out, but helping any kids that you feel, that you see and deem right for the right program. Now, we've talked about the process of getting the body and the mind right. Okay. What do you recommend when it comes to, talking to your coach, going to camps, doing stuff of that nature?
Well, a lot of things that, I do help out kids that come to me. Mm-hmm. And if I know something about them and I think that they're kids that I say, yeah, you know what, that kid looks like he could be a player at the next level, then I'm going to help them out. But I want to know what their academics are. I need to know the history of their academics. Because if they're not academically sound, I can't help them.
Yeah.
I mean, then they should just go to Delta College, because the coaches at Delta do a great job of getting kids out. But if they're a high school kid and I can help them and they have the academics, I'm more than willing to make phone calls, talk to people to help them out. And, I've been more than willing to help any young man in this community that can be helped. Can be helped. And I need to know the other part of their background is, are you willing to do the work? I don't want to recommend you and then you go there and then you come back, because then that hurts me as far as recommending other kids down the road.
That's very true. Well, I mean, yeah. Well, I think we've all had that where we wanted this kid so bad. Yes. You know what I mean? And once again, it's the story in our own head. It's not reality, because we're not being real with ourselves. We just see a kid that we want so bad to get out of a situation or to do whatever that we may embellish, I guess you would say,
yes.
in the beginning,
yes.
right in the beginning,
sure.
And then don't realize that it bites the next 30, 40 kids. Because that guy is going to be, wait, man, what happened? Right? And you're doing everything you can, but you know in your head that kid he is not at the point in his life to own his talent.
Yes. I know my kids that I recommend for my school. I know, are they worthy of this? Can they do this? And the kids from other schools that come and talk to me, I got to spend some time. I got to get to know them. I want to know what they're about. Are you willing to do what it's going to take to stay there? Do the work to stay there? Because I can't just help you and then it doesn't work out. And so I'm just looking for certain types of kids. And last year for Stagg, we had over 20 kids playing Division I, II, III, or NAIA football, and it was great.
That was going to be my
to try to
next
keep
question.
up with all the kids that Staggs has out there. And I've gone and watched some of them play live and in person, and some of them I watch them on TV, which is great. I get all the sports channels that I can get, because a lot of the kids pop up on these different channels that nobody knows about, but they're on TV, or I'll go on the internet and watch the broadcast from the school. So it's great to keep up with all these kids, but it's great to see, hey man, we had a number of kids from Stagg be able to go to the next level. And we're still looking for those kids to get to the NFL. We had a young man get a free agent tryout last year with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Arizona Cardinals. And he wasn't quite ready, but he's not done giving up on it either. He's gonna keep
that's
working
wonderful.
at it. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So that's my next thing. Everybody, everything's so branded now, and marketing and everything else, and it's like, I was at a school in Sacramento that was like D1 or nothing, and they had the curse of Sacramento being, they had, I'm going to say 20 players drafted in the NFL. Right, 20 players drafted in the NFL. They actually had 4 years this past year, will be 5 this next year, of guys going. And they're going to play. They're going to see them on Sundays. And like, it blew me away, because it was like D1 or nothing. If they had to if they wanted it, that instant, I'm D1 right now. Dude, some of us are late bloomers. Some of us are not. You know what? Go give yourself a shot, because in the end, I'm going to look at all of you and say, you're not making it to the NFL. You're not making it. And it's hard for me, because I don't want to you're crushing kids' dreams. No, I'm being real. You go to college for your degree. You don't go to college to go play in the NFL. To me, one, it has to be the degree, because the paper's for life. Right? NFL, great ones.
Right.
You got 8 years. You start at 22, you're done by 30.
That's
right? Yeah, you got a bunch of money, but you have no schedule.
Right.
You have no nothing. You don't know what to do. when you have that base, just like setting everything else up, you got to have that base.
You have to have a realistic goal. And I'm with you. It's hard to tell a young man sometimes, look, you're not a D1 guy. Mm-hmm. But that doesn't mean that you can't go play at the next level. And I always tell the kids this. Any snap or rep that you get after high school is a bonus, and you need to approach it that way. Because 90% of the people or more that you've played football with and against, they're not playing anymore after high school. That last high school football game that's it. They're done playing football. Mm-hmm. So anything that you get rep-wise, playing-wise, at any level is a bonus. So take it at that. That's number one. And then go get your education. Because that's the thing that's, like you said, it's for life. That you have forever. And you can say, I went and got my degree from Willamette University, or I got mine from Lewis and Clark. People never heard of those schools because they're not on Saturday afternoon football. But you know what? Those degrees are worth as much, if not more. So, you know what? Go get your degree and enjoy playing college football along the way. Because you can always say, I played college football. Doesn't matter the level. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You just got a chance to do it. And take that approach with it.
Yeah, I always tell me, like, when a kid can't figure it out, I always say, hey, man, it's a whole lot more fun to be playing a sport in college than it is just being a student. Boy. It's a whole lot more fun being on the field, court, wherever. Enjoy it. Because you know what? If you're able to go play, enjoy it. Enjoy it.
And the thing is if you go to the lower level college football programs, you're going to have a little bit more fun because they don't control your life the way they do at D1. I don't think the kids understand how much their life is controlled. They get up, they do their weight workout at 6 o'clock in the morning. And then everything else, all the way till 10 o'clock at night, is under the coach's control. And I see you go to D3, a D2 school, NAIA school, it's not going to be quite as demanding.
Yeah.
And so you have maybe a little bit more fun with it, and you still get the enjoyment of playing at the next level.
Yeah, I mean, I think kids just need to look at it, like you said, as an opportunity and be grateful for the next snap. I mean, I got kids that – I had a kid he took a year off football, right, signed 3 letter of intents. 3.
Wow.
Washington, Fresno, and then finally stuck at Utah. Took a year off, did 2 years at a JUCO, did 2 years at a D1, right? And now he's finishing up his first contract in the NFL, right?
Nice. Okay.
And he's going to go on to a second one. And he'll be the first one to tell you, man, this isn't like whatever story you got in your head. And I always tell the kids, man, hey, let the story go, right? Get to work. And the story could be, oh man, I'm dreaming of the day I hear my name called, or I dream of the day that I have this coach come in and say, we gotta have you. Let it go. Let it go. Yes. It may not happen.
Yes.
Just be present with what's happening right now.
Yes.
Because if you're in your present right now, you can't worry about suffering or sorrow. That's a breath ago, right? That's this. This can't hurt you. This is way back here. Only time you can hurt you is if you think about it and let it, right? If you're over here in the forward and like, tomorrow and the next day and everything else, that can't hurt you either until that moment comes, right? This can't hurt you if I'm just right here. This can't in your future, which is anxiety, fear, or sorrow, and sadness. These can't hear. If you're just right here, all I have to do right now is hit this weight, do this plyometric, get this book report done, get all this stuff done, and then we're not worried about it.
Yes.
It's stay on track. And if you need help, ask for it. That's the other thing. These kids, they don't want to ask for help.
They don't ask for help. That is so true. Now one thing I make my kids do, if you're struggling in class, I do grade checks on the kids every 2 weeks. Teachers won't let me do it every week, which I don't understand. I'm trying to help you as a teacher prepare your kids or keep your kids going in the right direction. But we do it every 2 weeks. And if they're struggling in class, we offer tutoring on our campus. But I say, no, go talk to the teacher yourself. Go meet with the teacher yourself. Tell the teacher straight up what the problem is. Be willing to go take ownership for your grades. Go take ownership. When you go in a big group setting, That's kind of a cop-out. But you go talk to that teacher. That's what they're there for. Make them help you. Take some ownership for your grades.
I love it. I love it. And that's the thing is like, the sooner you can take ownership of your grades, your body, your athletic ability, your choices.
Absolutely.
And that comes down to the next thing is like with the story.
Yeah.
Right? The story or the content, right? Is I hear it. This teacher didn't like me. This coach didn't like me. Everybody's against me. You're building up something because you're afraid, you're fearful of either success, right? Or your fear of failing. Your fear of success, which ultimately is a fear of failing to me, is that you're feared that you're going to do well, but soon enough you're going to get found out, and then you're going to fail.
They don't want to take responsibility. It's easy to say, well, this teacher doesn't like me. Why do you think the teacher doesn't like you? Well, I don't come to class on time, or I disrupt the class. Well, I wouldn't like you either. Because you're not doing your job, and you're not helping the teacher do their job when you're doing something that's disrupting the class. Or are you getting your homework in? No. Are you completing your assignments? No. Are you doing well on the test? No. Well, then you know what? You're not doing your job. Take responsibility and do your job. That's it. Bottom line, do your job.
That's huge. And it's man, don't get me wrong. There's kids that are behind the 8 ball in life, and it breaks my heart to say that, but they are. And maybe they need a little more help, and they're embarrassed or whatever. That's why you go talk to your coach. You go build relationships. One of the greatest how do you put it, gifts that I've ever given was being able to help kids.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot of teachers out there that'll help kids with their academics if they go give the teacher their story. What is my story? Hey, man, this is my home life. Mm-hmm. Okay, now people might take a whole different approach to you or look at you differently because they know where you're coming from. If you don't talk and communicate with people, that's the other thing. Kids don't like to communicate with people. I'll let them know this is where I'm at. This is what's going on in my life.
Emoji face.
You got to do that, man. You got to let people know what's going on. You got to do it.
They'd rather send an emoji face and some text.
I'm not interested in that. Yeah. First of all, I don't know how to make an emoji face on a text, so I'm not doing that. All I want to know is what's the bottom line. Come and tell me what's the bottom line. What are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing? How come this is not happening? And you know what? If you're not willing to explain your situation to your teacher, it's on you. Take responsibility, because when you're a freshman or a senior, your time in high school is running out. Yeah. It's just running out. Yeah. And it's going to go by fast, but you better be prepared to go exist in life by being able to communicate with people.
That's so true, because but that comes to the next thing. Where I was coaching, and I'm sure where you're coaching, is it's almost like this is probably going to be something deep for a next podcast, but like there needs to be like social skills.
Oh, absolutely, social skills.
Because babies having babies for 2 generations. You know what I mean? Like when I grew up, it was what I lived and what TV showed me, right? And I knew it couldn't be one or the other, because it was like, that's the fairy tale. This isn't very fun. You know what I mean? It had to be somewhere in the middle. And, I was lucky enough to meet a couple people that saw a kid that was just, I was spiraling. And, they helped me. And that's why I help now. I pass it forward, as you would say, I guess. But I think there's so much more that needs to be done. So it's like these coaches, they just want to coach. They just want to coach football. These trainers just want to do that. But it's like, man, it's so much more. Yes. It's more than, weights and other things. You see a kid falling down, man, get his whole story.
Yes.
But don't get me wrong. It's a business, but there's also, there's also a big heart involved too.
I think that comes back to the communications, coach and players. You have to have communication with each other. And I know there's a lot of kids that don't like to communicate, but I think that's something that they need to learn to overcome, is learn to communicate, learn to talk. And don't be afraid to communicate with people, especially people that can help you. If they can help you, communicate with them. Hey, I need some help. Give me some guidance. And if you're willing to show that you're willing to do what it takes to improve your situation, then people are going to be more inclined to help you more.
I knew a kid He was 200 and what did he say? It was 235. Had a family of all Big 12 players. I mean, the whole family. Well-known last name. They weren't the richest people in the world by any means. And this kid would always keep his grades up, but had the tenacity to drink a gallon of milk every day. One off season, this kid put on 60 pounds.
Wow. That's
60 pounds, ended up going to Illinois. Now, doing really well in life. About to do really well with his second contract. Plays for the Patriots. Was just injured 2 weeks ago. Had a little injury. He'll be back next week or the week after. But like that kid is amazing at communication. Like he's amazing at communication. I always have been. He's one of my favorite people when I get a chance to talk to him. Or he's just hilarious, and he owned his shit. You know what I mean? Like he was like, I'm 230 pounds. I'm gonna choke down this milk. I'm gonna stay on my grades. I'm gonna lift weights, and I'm gonna choke down this milk.
Yeah, great.
You know what I mean? And it's like to these kids when I say, hey man, you're gonna have to eat 3 cups of rice a day. You thought like I was gonna like I don't know. I couldn't even explain. I mean, when I was younger, told me to eat 3, I'd be excited. But these kids like, man, you know what I mean? It isn't what's cool or it isn't what's there.
It's not what they know.
No, exactly.
It's not what they know. It's not, and sometimes it's not their fault because they don't have access to the information. Their parents don't know. People that they associate don't know. Now all of a sudden you or I are telling them these things and they're going, what does that mean? I don't understand that. So it's on us to have to really get in there and explain it to them more so they understand what's the benefit of this. Why do you do this?
Yeah,
So,
I mean, yeah, but that comes back to actually knowing what you're talking about.
you got to talk. Yes.
When you're able to say, hey, look, it isn't rocket science. I mean, really, find out what they weigh. Do a couple different formulas, right? If you have access to it, go get a DEXA scan, right? Go get a DEXA scan, see what their muscle, see what everything is. I mean, it's not rocket science. Everything is out there.
Yes.
It's not rocket science. 3,500 calories, right? Add 3,500 calories, however you want to add it. That's a pound, right? Over whatever they're burning, that's a pound. I mean, it's not rocket science.
No, there's so many different avenues to get information nowadays. I mean, get on the internet, you can find out all kinds of things. Got to be careful not to lose your mind on it and do some of the stuff that's wrong, or you get some information, bring it to your coach. Coach, is this good for me to do?
Exactly.
Is this good for me to do?
Yes.
That goes back to communication. And again, it goes back to, are you willing to do the things that it's going to take to get you to the next level? Don't just talk about it. You got to be able to do the stuff that it's going to take. Everything that it takes.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And you know what? That's what you said today. If they could listen to anything, it would be do what it takes and own it. You know what I mean? And communicate. Communicate, own it, do what it takes. Because it's like you look at it and you go, if they just did those 3 things, right?
Yes.
Ask your coach what you need to work on. Do certain things, what they're asking you to do. If it doesn't work, go find the right person. And it's not always going to be the coolest, most known person. It could be just someone that you connect with.
I think you said something that's really important. I think, too, you got to be careful of the false prophets. Mm-hmm. The false prophets are people that are going to tell you, I can do all these things for you. But can they really? And do they really know what they're talking about? And are they really willing to do what it's going to take to help you? But be careful of the false prophets.
I always say be careful of the social media, right? Like, here's the thing. If you help somebody dramatically, you should be able to communicate with them and show communication.
Yes.
If you video a bunch of letter of intent signings and everything else, or you do, you show certain kids and everything else, that's just not being 100% in my thing. And that is, I'd rather be ultra conservative than anything.
Yes.
And one of the things I always say, like, you know, the 18th, there's from my last off season, we have 5 kids signing D1 Power 5 conference. And believe me, I'm only 1% of it. But we had to work on what we had to work on.
Right.
Right. And that's building what we had to build. And every kid had a checklist, and that's how we did it. But what I was gonna say is like, when you're doing all that stuff and you're in these, it's just, hey, don't just go to one gym, right? Don't just go to one gym. Check them all out. They'll give you a free day if you feel fit in where you fit in, man. It's all good. You know what I mean? There's enough kids out there. And it's kind of like when I was doing MMA was, you know, we'd either, you know, if you were the Lions Den, you just stuck with the Lions Den. And then people like Frank Shamrock and them, they would switch it around. They go to jiu-jitsu, they go over here, they go over this, go over that, go over this. And they became more complete fighters. So what I say is, man, go enjoy a couple of gyms. Anytime a guy says my kid or mine or me or I, you know they're only thinking of me.
Yeah.
They're only thinking of I. Yeah. If you don't come first, then we probably got problems.
Absolutely. And you know what? I'm willing to do the extra things that helps our kids get there.
Yeah.
We're willing to do it. Okay. And so I always tell the kids, yeah, go do this, go try that, go do that. The other thing you and I had talked a little bit before we started this about camps. Mm-hmm. And I think kids have to be realistic about camps as to what is this camp, and be careful of what they're telling you that you can get out of this camp. I encourage my kids to go to Sac State when they have a camp, and UC Davis and Fresno State. Those are good camps. But some of these other camps that a group just puts together and says, hey, we're going to have a camp, and all these college coaches are going to be there. Well, no, they're not, because the college coaches can't be there.
They can't be there.
So you have to be careful of the false information on these camps.
Yeah.
And know that college coaches are very restricted on what they can attend and where they can go watch. Like if Sac State has a camp, those coaches are going to be there, yes, and they're going to see you. And they may say, hey, we have a coach from this school and this school and this school. Okay, then that's worth going to. But Joe Dokes is putting together a camp, and he says we're going to have all these college coaches there.
Exposure camp.
Exposure camp. And it's in May or it's in April. It's not true. They're not going to be there because they're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, I look at it like I actually know a couple people that tried to do it, and they didn't know the rule there, and they had friends that were at universities, and they did it all with positive intentions.
Right.
And they ended up finding out that, man, not even D2, D3s can be there. No one can be there.
Right.
It's totally it's the only sport that it's like that. You know, you can find basketball, you could find baseball, you can find all that, but for some reason football is they're just dead set on not doing that. There's
more restrictions on football than there is on any other sport. And again, you know, stuff that I learned when my kids were growing up and trying to, my daughters wanted to play college softball, my son wanted to play college baseball. We found out that, you know, a lot of the recruiting is done by the softball, baseball coaches in the summertime and all these big tournaments that they have in the summer.
That's the other thing. They want to be able to get as much talent in one spot as possible. So that's when you see like the big games, you know, like your two big teams, you're going to see a lot of coaches on the sideline. Right. Now, the other thing is, you know, what I tell kids is, hey, be cool with your coach, right? Your coach is the driver of this, not your trainer, not anybody else. Now, your trainer can know people, right?
Yes.
I can know people, but I'll tell you right now, if I have a kid from Stagg, me and you were talking. If I have a kid from any of the other schools, we're talking. If I have any from college to professional to high school, we're talking, because I have to know what needs to be done to get that kid to his potential.
Exactly. And a lot of times, a lot of the trainers don't know, because they don't get into the kid's history enough, is what is their academics. Because getting into a D1 and D2 school, the academics, you got to know about the core classes. You have to know what the core GPA is. You have to know what the SAT score, how do they match up?
I know the sliding scale.
There's a lot of people that don't know that sliding scale and how do you get into this. And a lot of people don't know it. And there's a lot of the trainers, now there are some out there, again, the false prophets I was talking about, I can do this and this and this, and they never mention the academic part, and they don't know what the kids' academics are. I can get you into this school and that school, but can you? Do you know where they're at?
I mean, that's why I always say ask questions. I always ask questions like, what do you think? Okay. I mean, really? I think one of the first 3 questions I ask is, okay, so, all right, well, what position do you play? First, exactly. Right? Secondly, height, weight.
Exactly.
Third is, what's your GPA?
Yeah.
And if I really say this, I do not want to take your money. And you know what? Like, this is something that hurts me financially, but I don't want to take your money if you're not prepared to go there.
Right.
Give me some grades, right? At least start working on them. At least show a, and then we can get to work.
Then we can do
because
something.
You don't have time for me.
Yeah.
You don't have time. You don't have an hour and a half for me after school. You have an hour and a half to be getting with those teachers, to get in the study halls, to get everything else, right?
Correct.
And the other thing is, I had a kid just a week ago. This coach, this dad was like flabbergasted. He was just sitting across from me. We go through all the thing. We go through the worksheets. We go through everything that he filled out. Kid's a underclassman, pretty good lineman, has potential to be a really good lineman. And I just asked him, I said, okay, what are you doing? What other sports? And he says, well, I'm just here to focus on football. I said, okay, how tall are you? All right, this height. What you weigh? Okay. And I look down at, like, I've been doing this for long enough now, is that I have kind of like a scale I use where I can say, okay, this is where the kid's at, right? I look at dad and mom, but you also got to look at the outliers.
Right.
You know what I mean? You'd be surprised
right.
what giants come from little people.
That's right.
Right? But I look at outlier. I look at everything right with that. And then what we do is we go, and I said to the kid, I said, hey, how you feel about wrestling? Well, I kind of really want to wrestle, but I want to focus on football. Why don't you go wrestle?
Yeah.
Because you know what? I'll be here after, or we can figure out something in between there.
Right.
Give you a discounted price so you come in, right? And then with that, you got to look at it this way. I said, when do you lift weights? What do you lift? So that's when I have to get with the coach. What days do you lift? What do you lift? Now the coach isn't fighting with me.
Correct.
Right? We're talking. We're on a community. Oh, okay, cool. And I'm like, your program is a whole lot more important than my program. Because if he's not lifting weights, he's being lazy, he's doing this, who is the recruiter going to talk to? Me or you?
The recruiters are coming to the coaches.
They're going to come to the coaches
They're
first.
coming to the coaches first, and always. If there's a relationship that a coach has with a trainer, they may do that, but not first. They may talk to the trainer. But I know, talking to a lot, like I said, I got a wall full of cards from coaches that have come in my office. And 99% of them are, Coach, I'm coming to you. Yeah. Great that they're going to a trainer, but I'm not going to talk to them because they don't always know all the information that I'm looking for.
Nice.
I don't know.
So what I do is I find out when they lift for football, right? Okay. And then if we go to and then say the kid goes to wrestling or basketball or whatever. If you know the human body and you know what it is, then you know that the missing piece is going to be mobility, recovery, flexibility. Maybe we'll figure out what he's doing for basketball and what he's doing for football, or what he's doing for wrestling and what he's doing that stuff, right? So what we want to do there is we want to just add the little bit, and you got to have no ego in that. Like, I try to be as least egotistical as possible, knowing that my piece right now may only be 5%. But guess what? That 5% helps this, that 5% helps that.
But that 5% might put a kid over the hump. That might be the difference that gets them over the hump. So that's where everybody's got to be on the same program, and it takes everybody working together, and it's a communication thing.
I mean, like, we had a kid. He's in the highest you can possibly get. He's in the NFL, right? I have strength coaches that I talk to right there, right? And I have position coaches because through the years of being able to do what I've done, people have seen that I've been genuine. And that means tell them the good and the bad.
Yeah.
And let them decide. You don't try to tell them put one path or not. You go, this is the truth. And then what ends up happening is they go, damn, man, like, who you got next year? What do you got? What do you got? Who you at? Where you at? I know you've been putting them out. Or the right kids have been coming through. Where have you been doing? And that's when communication and getting to where you need to be comes all the way back to the start of our conversation is preparation.
Yeah, it comes back to preparation. And you got to speak truth. Got to speak truth to the kids, and they have to be willing to hear it.
Yeah. So, I think that's a great way to end this, Coach. And I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you doing this. And then, just being real, because I think some kids really need to hear this stuff. And
yes, they do. Yes, they do. They need to hear the truth about what it takes. And again, like we talked about at the beginning, the process. It's not just a single thing. There's a lot of things that are involved in the process to make it happen for them.
Yeah. So pretty much, man, you just gotta, whatever that story is in your head, you just gotta let that shit go and just, hey, get to work, right?
Yeah.
Thank you
Great,
so
man.
much, Coach.
Thank you very much. It's great. It's good.
All right, thanks
good
a lot.
time.